Alrighty, cherubs, so today we're going to be making a bowl made with two different colors of clay. So I'm going to take my slab of the white clay and go ahead and smooth it out. Then I'm going to take my template and I've traced the design with the felt tip marker, and now I'm going to just smooth it out on the back. And now I'm going to go ahead and cut out each of the pieces of this design. Now you can see in the background that I've already done this with the red clay. So I'm going to take that different color clay and throw out a slab, trace the design on it, and cut out the pieces. So I need to do it for both the white and the dark colored clay. I got this idea I saw Little Street Pottery do this, and I thought I'd give it a try. And it turned out to be a lot of fun. So shout out to Anne and Little Street Pottery, link in the description below, if you want to check out what she did with this idea. Now, if you're careful and you do this right, you should be able to use both pieces from both sets to make reverse bowls. Set the extra aside, and you want to go ahead and separate all the pieces. If the X-Acto knife didn't go all the way through, you want to use it again. Don't tear the pieces apart. That's going to cause problems down the road. So now what I'm going to do is score all the sides. So I'm going to start with that center star. I have other templates linked in the description. So if you want to use the star pattern or any other that I've got linked there, you're more than welcome to. So I've got to score all the pieces. Now I'm going to use slip then to attach them. You can also just use water to attach these pieces. It's important that you let them get closer to leather hard. If they're really soft, this is going to be a really messy process, and that's when your clays are going to mix together and make a big mess. The drier they are, the less the colors of the clays will mix. So I used a slip here. In retrospect, I probably should have just used a little bit of water, and that would have been okay. The most important thing that I found is that you want to use a plastic bag over top to stitch these pieces together. If you try and stitch them together using just your finger on the clay or a tool directly on the clay, that's when you're really going to get a lot of mess, and the colors of the clay are going to blend. If you stitch them with the plastic on top, they're not going to blend nearly as much, which is exactly what we want. So we're going to continue assembling. But again, remember, every time you assemble a piece, lay down a piece of plastic in between you and the clay when you stitch them together. Notice I even have plastic sitting underneath. That'll make life easier. Put the plastic bag back down as I stitch these pieces all together. You want to make sure that you flip it and stitch it from both sides too. That is also very important. If the clay starts to stain the bag, you can opt for a new bag or a new piece of plastic, and that's totally fine. This isn't a difficult project, but it is time consuming, and especially if you're doing it well. So just take your time with this project. Go slow. There's no rush. When students have tried this and they rushed, that's when, again, the clay, the colors mix together, they blur, and it makes a mess, and it's not pretty like it's supposed to be. Just use a little rolling pin right there just to help stitch it all together. Now I'm going to take a slab and make a ring for the outside of the bowl. You can attach it coiled to the outside, or take a slab and cut flat pieces. Either would work just fine. But I like having that contrast, that opposite color on the outside, and it makes the bowl just a little bit bigger. These aren't really huge. It's kind of a smaller dish. So having that ring on the outside makes it just a little bit bigger. One last time, put the bag back on, stitch all the pieces. Then I'm going to flip it over and stitch it from the opposite side. You can see it did bleed just a little bit, and if it does, it's okay. You just go back with an X-Acto knife and just peel away, scrape away any of that extra color. And again, if you're doing it right, it shouldn't bleed too much. Now we're going to drape it over the plaster mold. I would prefer to drape this over top as opposed to putting it inside of a bowl. I think it'll work just a little bit better. So I'm draping it over the top, and again, just taking that rolling pin just to help shape it so that it all is uniform. So one last swipe with the X-Acto knife to take off any extra color that shouldn't have blended. But again, it's mostly pretty clean already. I tried to be really, really careful with this. As long as you're being careful and covering it with the plastic when you stitch the pieces together, you should be fine. The bowl dries on the mold, and there it is.